Well, at the Conference Board, we have our Consumer Confidence Index, and a big component of that is sort of the expectation for consumers regarding the labor market. And what we're finding is their future expectation for 6 months ahead continues to be very dismal. And overall expectations are sort of at their lowest point. And again, the survey was last month, but in late November, but the lowest point since April, when consumers were worried about tariffs. So consumers are still concerned about prices, inflation, tariffs, but they're also concerned with their employment. And when they feel like their employment could be compromised, we know that they tend to maybe rein in their spending a little bit.
But we see consumer spending still pretty good. I mean, we had the
do.
Dollar General came out with some good numbers
Yes.
today. The other retailers putting up some pretty solid numbers. It looks like, Black Friday sales were up 4%. It seems like the consumer's still out there spending, though.
Yeah, we had our forecast meeting earlier this week, where all of us economists get together and talk about these things. And we decided not to declare the holiday season a success yet.
Okay.
Let's wait. Let's see how the rest of the next couple weeks go before we declare, a success.
You have your pulse on corporations. Is the summary here online grows in the first and second derivatives? It just reigns supreme?
I think for companies, it's just continuously about uncertainty. And all of their decision making is really compromised right now by not knowing what the future
Yeah, but our
looks
listeners, Paul, you say it. We've had back-to-back quarters of double-digit earnings growth.
Yes.
So their uncertainty is a profitable uncertainty? My heart bleeds.
Well, one index that we're looking at is the import price index. And we know that other countries, exporters into the U.S., are not paying these tariffs. And so the companies themselves, they're raising prices a little bit. We hear that on the calls. But they're absorbing some of it, and they're waiting to see what happens. They're waiting to see what happens with the Supreme Court decision. They're waiting to see what happens next year with Mexico and Canada, which is two of our three largest trading partners, and our, USMCA. What will that look like in the future?
So, again, on the tariffs, I think we kind of, you look at the market reaction in April when the tariffs were rolled out, a real jolt to the marketplace, real concern. People talking about slowing growth significantly, higher inflation. It doesn't seem like we've seen any or much of the ill effects that we thought about tariffs initially. Is that just companies taking it in the margin and moving forward?
We think it's companies taking it in the margin. We also think that the stock market doesn't necessarily reflect the consumer-based economy. If the goal of the tariffs is onshoring manufacturing and production, we have not seen that. So looking at, for example, construction spending this year compared to last year, manufacturing spending is down 4% after growing double digits for the last few years.
And if you look at the manufacturing is still in contraction.
Exactly.
In this country. That's counter to what I think this administration felt that its plans would do. Is there a lag effect or something like that?
I think there's a lag effect. I think it goes back to the decision making. So why would you decide, and we hear this from our companies that are members of the Conference Board, why would you decide to onshore or to nearshore or change your supply chain if big trade decisions have not really been made with China, Mexico, and Canada? Those are all still sort of on the back burner until second, third quarter next year.
Well, two ideas quickly here. The zeitgeist right now is tariffs is old news. I don't buy it for a minute.
No.
Okay, if tariffs go from 2-3% up to the budget center at Yale, I'll say whatever percent, triple. Come on, it's got to affect Lisa Mateo, right?
It will affect Lisa and all of us eventually. So the one-time hit concept is, really not a concept.
I don't care.
In favor.
The only reason you're here is I was sitting in traffic off of JFK, and I said, get Erin on the program.
Yes.
Chicago has the worst traffic in the country. Boston is number 5. Hours lost per year, Paul, is 42% greater in Chicago, with New York right behind Chicago, than the joy of the fifth worst in the nation, Boston, Massachusetts. I read the websites of all the touchy-feely. They want to put bike lanes in on the way to O'Hare. Erin, how do we fix the traffic in America where there's just too many cars, too many trucks? What do we do?
That's a great question. Adding lanes is not the solution. Any urban planner / economist like myself will tell you that. So you're just going to create more traffic. So it's really about changing how we use our infrastructure. And I think that now that everybody is back to work 4 or 5 days a week in the office, and people are still getting all their e-commerce deliveries, traffic just continues to increase.
I mean, Stephen Ross down in Miami wants to do like airplane taxis.
Really?
Or,
Nice.
but the problem is, if we all do airline taxis, we've just taken Madison Avenue in New York
and put it
up at 5,000 feet.
5,000 feet. Think about blades out to the Hamptons.
You might see more congestion.
Paul's a devoted train user.
Yeah.
Come on, Erin. What's the solution to all of our listeners? Houston's traffic, when I was down there.
Oh, boy.
You got to be kidding me.
Nashville,
where Michael
Austin,
Dell is in Austin,
Atlanta.
you can't turn left. What's the solution?
Well, the solution is probably some form of congestion pricing that may take off in other cities at some point. We will have to see. But it does work to an extent. I think what's really interesting is that transportation, road transportation like we're talking about, or even public transit, in the infrastructure conversation, that is now on the back burner. Everybody talking about infrastructure is talking about the electric grid.
Yep.
So us transportation nerds, we're not getting the attention that we should be getting.